Hey everybody, Jeff here from DemiseOfTime, and today I have a jazz LP review. This is going to be Where Fortune Smiles by John McLaughlin, Dave Holland, John Surman, Stu Martin, and Karl Berger. This album was kind of forgotten about by most people. It was briefly looked at again when it was re-released on CD, and it was primarily marketed as a John McLaughlin album. But it really is more of a joint effort between McLaughlin and John Surman, who plays saxophone on this release, and John McLaughlin, of course, plays guitar. They split the songwriting duties here, and even in spite of that, I think it's important that this is really looked at as a group effort between all five of the musicians, because this is completely off-the-wall free jazz, and really all of the compositions here are dependent upon where the soloist decides to take the piece and how the rhythm section holds it together. There's a melody in each of the tracks, but usually it's really, really loose, and the song is more just about all of the crazy ideas that the musicians have in the studio and the way they bounce ideas off of each other and communicate and things like that. So this is more of a free jazz album than a fusion release if you're looking to get something like Mahavishnu Orchestra or something like that. This isn't any of that. This is much more loose in its structure, and I did get this as a completely blind purchase. I just saw this, I was familiar with John McLaughlin's name, and this cover is super cool. I found this, I was just going through boxes of vinyl at a flea market, and some guy, I think I got it for only $1, he didn't really know what it was either, didn't really care. And I do have the American version here. This is an alternate cover. The original cover I don't think is quite as cool, but this is a re-release from 1975 by PYE Records. I don't think I have anything else on this label. You can check out the record itself. So it's got a kind of pink and purple type thing going on. I don't think I have anything else by this label, and I don't really know much about the label at all, but it's a really cool looking album, and if you can find it on vinyl, especially in this edition, I definitely recommend it just because it's a really cool album to have in your collection. In terms of music, as I mentioned, it really depends on the listener. This sort of free jazz is not something that everyone can get into, and I traditionally listen to jazz music that has a little bit more structure to it. You know, I haven't investigated a whole lot of avant-garde and free jazz and things like that, but this certainly is a very, very good example of the genre, even if it's not like completely genre-defining. The playing across the board is excellent, and Karl Berger's work on the vibraphone is particularly cool. He's someone who could definitely hold his own with, like, Ruth Underwood from Frank Zappa's band. Like, he's of that caliber, and some of the stuff he plays on here is just completely bizarre and off the wall, and really, really fast. He sounds like he's almost an octopus or something on the instrument. And, you know, it's kind of like that with all the other instrumentalists, too. The rhythm section, as well, with the drums and the bass, they're really, really loose, and they're not very well defined. There's not usually, you know, a very straight rhythm, but they do communicate well, and everything is kind of held together, even if it is very, very loose and kind of random in its structure. There are a few tracks on here that serve as interludes of sorts. I think that would be Earthbound Hearts and Where Fortune Smiles. Those two tracks are kind of more mellow, just featuring like kind of gentle saxophone soloing or vibraphone soloing. So there is stuff to break up the really, really zany stuff, but most of this album is just completely off-the-wall rhythmic type ideas, saxophone squealing, really, really just loud guitar solos. So it's not something to listen to if you're looking for just a quiet jazz album to relax to. But it is a really, really cool album, especially if you're a fan of John McLaughlin. I didn't really know that he ever did this sort of music, and from a historical perspective, it's pretty cool, just for that reason alone. It shows a style of his that I didn't really know existed. So anyway, Where Fortune Smiles, interesting little album. I wouldn't call it essential. I wouldn't entirely recommend it to every jazz listener. But if you like free jazz and you're curious about this project, which I think a lot of jazz listeners probably would be just because the lineup is so good, I would recommend checking it out. It's a cool album. I've enjoyed listening to it, and it's opened my ears a little bit to free jazz, which is something, you know, I've listened to a few of the classics, but I've never gotten completely into. So I really wish this lineup released some more material over the years, but they didn't. So this is all we have, but it is a pretty good album, even if it's not totally great in my opinion. So Where Fortune Smiles, I would give this a 3 out of 5 if I were to rate it. And yeah, so recommended to fans of free jazz. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up, leave a comment down below, let me know what you think, and be sure to subscribe to my channel if you want to get some more of my content. Thank you for watching.